My mother didn't even blink when she said it across the dinner table. "You're not half the woman your sister is." The words hit so hard the room actually tilted. I pushed my chair back, feeling every year I'd kept quiet tighten in my chest, and said, "Then she can start paying your rent." Forks froze. My father went pale. "Rent? What rent?" he whispered like the truth might swallow him whole. But that moment was nothing compared to what came after. Because the real secret hadn't been revealed yet. My name is Nora Alice, and for most of my life I've been the quiet one in a family that never stops talking about my sister. People assume I'm shy, but that isn't quite true. I just learned early that in my parents' house, silence keeps the peace. And peace, no matter how fragile, was something I tried to protect. On paper my life looks steady. I'm a financial manager at a logistics company near the Portland harbor. I work with numbers, deadlines, and systems that make sense. There's a calmness in spreadsheets that real life has never offered me. My days follow predictable rhythms. The echo of forklifts at the docks, the hum of the office, the soft click of my keyboard. I go home to a small apartment with warm lamps and a view of the river. Some nights I cook pasta, tie my hair up, and take comfort in small, orderly things. But the steadiness ends every Friday. That's when I drive to my parents' two-story house in the suburbs, a place wrapped in manicured hedges and the illusion of a perfect family. Inside, perfection cracks fast. The moment I step through the door, I feel 16 again. The second daughter, the supporting role in Vivien's highlight reel. My sister has always been the star. Tall, confident, the kind of person who fills a room and expects it to stay filled. She debated her way to trophies in high school, earned a law scholarship, and walked into a career everyone applauded before she even proved herself. And I, quiet, steady Nora, watched her take the spotlight like it was her birthright. My parents adore her. They always have. At every family gathering, every holiday, every dinner, they lift her accomplishments like offerings. New cases she won, promotions she got, the house she bought, her plans, her vacations, her potential. And then there's me. Nora, who paid her own tuition at 17. Nora, who worked 2 jobs in college. Nora, who never asks for help. I learned not to. It wasn't that my parents disliked me. They just preferred the louder story. Still, I kept showing up every Friday because they insisted. My dad always said, "This family has a seat for you. Don't leave it empty." Half joking, half serious. My mom called if I was even 5 minutes late. Family first, she'd remind me, though it often felt like Vivien first was closer to the truth. The dinners were predictable. My mother plated the same roast chicken. My father asked the same questions. Vivien shared the same wins, and I pushed food around my plate, pretending the quiet I carried didn't weigh something fierce. But the Friday before everything imploded felt different. My mother kept giving me these sharp, assessing glances. Vivien was in an unusually triumphant mood, like she knew something I didn't. Even my father's smile looked stretched too thin. I sensed it then, a storm building beneath the polite clatter of dishes. I just didn't know it would hit me first. That Friday dinner began like all the others, but there was a weight in the air I couldn't name. My mother hovered near the stove longer than usual, stirring the same pot twice, her jaw tight. Vivien scrolled through her phone with a grin so smug it felt rehearsed. And my father kept clearing his throat the way he does when he's preparing to make an announcement. I'd lived enough Fridays to know when something was coming, but I tried to shake it off. I set the table, lined up the silverware, pretended not to notice the tension pooling under every breath. When we finally sat down, the conversation, like always, turned to Vivien. I never knew exactly when my parents started asking me, just this month, to take care of the house payments. It was always said in a low, almost embarrassed voice, like someone trying to hide a scratch on a freshly painted wall. My father claimed the banking app didn't work on his phone. My mother blamed the card that kept getting blocked for no reason. And so, in a sequence of small requests that sounded more like excuses, the responsibility slowly slid into my hands. What began as an occasional favor turned into a silent routine. I sent the payment, took a screenshot, filed everything away. They, in turn, pretended nothing had changed. The strangest part was noticing how they avoided the subject altogether, as if naming the debt would make it too real. Real enough to expose what they were trying to hide even from themselves. Sometimes I wondered if they truly believed that by not looking directly at the problem, it would simply stop existing. And I, wanting to avoid embarrassing them, let them believe that. It was also during this time that I noticed something curious about Vivien. She didn't know about the payments, of that I was certain. But she knew something was wrong in that house. Every time she arrived for dinner, she cast quick glances at our parents, like someone spotting cracks before the ceiling collapses. And still, when they praised her ability to handle everything, she never corrected them, never questioned it, never found it strange. She seemed comfortable with a narrative that cast her as the heroine, even without understanding what exactly she was supposedly saving. I remember one specific night weeks before the dinner that changed everything when she said, "Mom and Dad are so tense lately. I think they've needed me more than ever." I wanted to ask what exactly she had done, yet I swallowed the question. Maybe because I myself still couldn't accept that I was paying a high price for a story in which my name didn't appear at all. And while all of this was happening, someone else was watching from a distance. Mrs. Jensen, our neighbor. Always sweeping her sidewalk, always noticing details no one else seemed to see. She would ask me in a low voice if I was managing all that was on my plate, even though I had never mentioned anything. Sometimes she left a cake at my door with a simple note, "You look tired." It wasn't intrusion, it was perception. She saw what my parents refused to acknowledge. And it was in that silent space between obligations and omissions that I felt for the first time the beginning of a crack in my patience. It wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a thin line, almost invisible, opening beneath my feet. A line that, sooner or later, I knew I wouldn't be able to ignore anymore. "She's presenting at a conference next week," my mom said proudly. They asked her, "Isn't that something?" "She's always been exceptional," my dad added, giving her a smile that belonged in a campaign poster. Vivien shrugged with fake modesty. "Well, they know talent when they see it." I chewed slowly, swallowing a mix of chicken and resentment. I'd spent the entire day at work fixing a financial mess left by someone else, but that never made it to the family dinner table. My achievements lived quietly in the corners of my parents' house, tucked between bills and forgotten grocery lists. I tried to change the subject. "I led a big project at work this week," my director said, but my mother waved her hand. "You're doing fine, Nora, but Vivien's work impacts hundreds of people. It's different." That sting, small, sharp, intentional, landed exactly where she wanted it to. I looked down at my plate, reminding myself to keep breathing. It was just another Friday, I told myself. Another night of swallowing what I wished I could say. But then my father leaned back, exhaling with a dramatic sigh. "Speaking of homes," he began, "Vivien helped us sort through some mortgage paperwork last month. She's been such a blessing." A chill crawled up my spine. Mortgage paperwork. Blessing. Vivien's grin widened. It wasn't a big deal. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. 3 years of payments pulsed behind my ribs. Payments I'd made quietly, without applause, without acknowledgement, because they told me they didn't want anyone worrying. I had sacrificed vacations, graduate classes, even the down payment for my own apartment. And now they were rewriting the story. A warmth started building in my chest, slow at first, then rising like a tide. I could no longer hold back. My mother must have sensed it because she gave me that look, the patronizing tilt of her head that always meant I should stay quiet. Then she said the sentence that split something open inside me. "You're not half the woman your sister is." The room didn't just go silent. It snapped. I felt myself sit up straighter. I felt the scrape of the chair legs on the hardwood floor. I felt every unspoken word I had ever swallowed gather at the back of my throat like a storm clawing to break free. And for the first time in my life at that table, I didn't push the feeling down. I let it rise. The words left my mother's mouth with such casual certainty that for a moment I wondered if she even heard herself. Something steadied inside me. I pushed my chair back slowly, the sound of wood scraping across the floor cutting the air clean in half. Vivien's smile faltered. My father looked up, startled, as if he'd forgotten I was even sitting there. I met my mother's eyes, my voice calmer than I felt. "Then she can start paying your rent." Silence slammed into the room. My father blinked. "Rent? What rent?" His voice cracked, almost pleading. I didn't flinch. "The mortgage payments. For 3 years." 3 pairs of eyes widened at once. Shock, denial, and something close to fear flickering across their faces. I felt a strange lightness, like I had finally stopped carrying a weight no one else even knew existed. My mother recovered first. "Nora, don't be dramatic. We never asked you." "You did," I cut in, my voice steady. "Every month." Just this once. We'll handle next month. Don't let the bank send a notice. I have the payments. I have the bills. I have everything. My father's face drained of color. You shouldn't bring that up now. It's not appropriate. There was the dismissal, the minimization, the attempt to shove the truth back into the shadows where they preferred me to live. I stood fully, hands on the back of my chair. What's inappropriate is pretending Vivien saved a home I paid to keep standing. Vivien finally spoke, her voice thin. Nora, maybe you misheard. Maybe Mom didn't mean, but I wasn't listening anymore. I watched them scramble to reframe the story, to mold it into something comfortable for them. And for the first time I didn't shrink to fit that version. Something inside me clicked. Sharp, clear, irreversible. Without another word, I walked out of the dining room, grabbed my coat and stepped outside into the cold Portland air. My breath shook, but not from regret. It was the shock of hearing myself stand up after years of sitting down. That night, back in my apartment, I opened my laptop, scrolled to the automatic monthly payment and clicked cancel. A small box appeared. Are you sure? This time I was. Canceling the payments should have felt like closure, but instead it cracked something open. For the first time in 3 years, my bank account didn't drain on the 15th. The silence from my parents was loud enough to rattle the walls. I started running along the river in the mornings. At first it was just to quiet the shaking in my hands. But soon the rhythm of my feet on the pavement became something like freedom. I joined a Thursday cooking class at the community center. I learned how to make homemade pasta and how to laugh with strangers who didn't know a thing about my family. I even let some friends drag me on weekend hikes around Mount Hood, where the air felt cleaner. With distance I saw everything more clearly. Every just this month, every don't tell anyone. Every time they'd praised Vivien while I paid the bills in silence. And then came the photo. It arrived on a Sunday morning from Mrs. Jensen, my parents' elderly neighbor who had a habit of noticing everything. She texted me a picture of my childhood home with a banner stretched across the porch. Congratulations, Vivien, for preserving the family home. My entire body went still. Preserving. Vivien. My throat tightened as I stared at the banner, my hands numb. Every late-night transfer, every sacrifice, every time I told myself family comes first. All of it rewritten like I'd never been there at all. I didn't cry. Not this time. I felt something else, something sharper, steadier. I walked to the dining table, pulled out the folder where I kept every payment and bill I'd printed over the last 3 years, and began to organize them date by date, month by month. It looked less like a stack of papers and more like a quiet autobiography of sacrifice. That's when Sarah called. Nora, I think you should know, she whispered. Your parents are planning a family appreciation dinner next month in Seattle. They asked me to make the slideshow. I braced myself. Let me guess. It's about Vivien. It's worse than that. I could hear the discomfort in her voice. They want to highlight her as the reason the house was saved. They gave me captions. They're calling her the anchor of the family. Anchor. Savior. Here. All words I had earned but never received. Send me the file, I said. She hesitated. Are you sure? I'm very sure. When the slideshow arrived, I opened it and felt a hollow laugh escape me. Photos of Vivien standing proudly in front of the house, my parents hugging her on the porch. I created a copy of the file and added what they had erased. After their final slide, I inserted a timeline of the payments, bar charts of monthly support, screenshots of messages from my mother, blurred for privacy but clear in meaning. And the last slide, a photo of the house with the words, "The truth deserves a place too." I saved the file to my laptop, to the cloud, and onto a USB drive I kept in my bag like a heartbeat. When the day came, I didn't go to impress them. I went to finish something. The restaurant in downtown Seattle glowed with soft amber lights. Through the glass I saw familiar silhouettes. My parents, Vivien in an emerald dress, relatives I hadn't seen in years. Everyone dressed like they were attending a ceremony. And in a way they were. I waited by the doorway, unseen, as my father took the microphone. We are here, he began proudly, to honor our daughter Vivien, the one who stepped up during difficult times, who helped us keep the home that has been in our family for decades. Applause, smiles, cameras flashing. The slideshow started. Vivien on the porch, Vivien holding papers, Vivien smiling next to my mother. Caption after caption painting a story that wasn't true. Then the screen flickered. A bar chart appeared. Then another. Then the dates, the payments. 3 years of financial support, mine, spread across the screen in unforgiving clarity. The room went silent. My parents froze. Vivien's mouth fell open. I stepped forward into the light. If the truth makes anyone uncomfortable tonight, I said calmly, that's not my problem. Every head in the room turned. My father looked at me like I was a ghost he never expected to see. My mother's face crumpled, not in shame but in fear of being exposed. I walked toward the screen. For 3 years I paid the mortgage. Not 1 month. Every month. Quietly, consistently. While you, I looked at my parents, rewrote the story to make it easier for everyone to applaud. My father tried to speak. Nora, take this outside. Why? I asked. You wanted everyone here to know what Vivien did. Why shouldn't they know what I did? Whispers spread like wildfire. I knew something was off. She was always working late. 3 years. She paid all that. Vivien stood trembling. I didn't ask them to do this. You thought nothing, I said, not cruelly but plainly. You enjoyed being the hero in a story that was never yours. My mother finally found her voice. Nora, we didn't want to embarrass you. I laughed softly. Embarrass me by telling the truth? The USB drive felt heavy in my pocket, but the truth on the screen was enough. I had no desire to attack them further. The point wasn't to win. It was to be seen. For the record, I said, I don't want the house. I don't want credit. I just won't let you erase me. The room stayed silent long after I stepped away from the screen. My father reached out a hand. Nora, wait. But I didn't wait. I turned and walked toward the door, feeling lighter than I had in years. Outside, the cool Seattle night wrapped around me. I stood on the steps, breathing in the sharp air, and realized something. This wasn't revenge. It was release. For years I thought keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. But the truth is, silence doesn't protect you. It erases you. Choosing myself didn't break my family. It finally broke the story that kept me small. If you've ever carried a burden in silence or been written out of your own story, tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this resonated with you, hit subscribe for more stories about finding your voice.